Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to my channel, I Hate Rock Music. And by the way, I've had a number of people comment that they find the name of my channel, I Hate Rock Music, obnoxious or they just don't get it. And I find it ironic. I love the irony of it. I think it's funny. And so I don't have any plans to change it, particularly because I got well over 100 videos under the moniker I Hate Rock Music. And it's pretty clear to anybody that watches my videos, I love rock music. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. But another one of the great early grunge bands in Seattle was a group called H Hour, and they actually moved here from Boise, Idaho, and that's something that happened a fair amount. Screaming Trees moved here from Ellensburg, Washington. There's bands that moved here from Spokane and Montana. Moving Parts moved here from Montana, and H Hour moved here from Boise, Idaho. And the band was Johnny Clint on vocals, Danny Brown on guitar, Darren Peters on bass, who's a friend of mine, and Tad Doyle on drums. He's known as the guitar player and vocalist for the band Tad, of course. But he started out as a drummer, and as you can imagine, he pounded the shit out of those drums. And Johnny Clint was a total rock star. I saw them a few times. The most notable is a club up on Capitol Hill here in Seattle called the Canterbury, and there was four bands that I hadn't seen live yet, and so it was H Hour, who impressed the hell out of me, and then Bundle of Hiss, who impressed the hell out of me, and then a very early Skin Yard, who impressed the hell out of me, and then Soundgarden. And I'd heard their first Sub Pop single and thought it was pretty good. I hadn't seen them live yet, and I went to see that show, and four great early Seattle grunge bands in one show. And Soundgarden, I have to admit, the first 10 or 15 minutes, they were barely holding it together. They weren't very tight. And then all of a sudden, everything clicked, and they played for another hour, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe they were a local band. Chris Cornell, obviously, was a total rock star. Didn't have that long hair yet, and they were still doing Led Zeppelin's Communication Breakdown and Working Man by Rush. But anyway, what a happy boy I was that night seeing Bundle Hiss, H Hour, Skin Yard, and Soundgarden. But H Hour, they really held their own. I mean, to be opening up for Soundgarden, and Johnny Clint was definitely a great singer for one of these grunge bands. Then they had all the classic elements of grunge with all the guitar shards and an equal mix of Gang of Four and Black Sabbath. A lot of interesting changes and great musicianship, and H Hour, like so many others, didn't really get a lot of material out at the time. They would put out a cassette. That's how it was done back then. My band put out a demo cassette. All of these bands in that early period, that was what you did. You put out demo cassettes. And so there's a ton of them out there, and it's good that we have them. But H Hour is impressive enough that they came out on a number of samplers, two of which are on CZ Records, Secretions in 1988, and another Pyrrhic Victory, I think 1989. And so H Hour has some really great material that was recorded really well that's available on those samplers. And as I pointed out about a couple of these other bands, at some point, maybe somebody will be convinced to put out a lot of H Hour material. They clearly were around several years, and actually go back as far as 1980, I understand. And so they were around for well over 10 years, and spent a lot of time in the studio. So there's a lot of material out there, and the stuff that's on these samplers is excellent. And again, if you like that classic Seattle sound, even though they're from Idaho, and you love the whole grunge thing, H Hour definitely one of the kings. And so me and everybody else that lives in Seattle, really lucky to have a whole scene full of all these bands that were almost all of them were really good. Good musicians, good singers, great material, and it had all the similar influences. So a lot of times when you put them next to each other, band to band, it kind of starts sounding like the same thing because they were all mining the same influences. And one of the reasons I think grunge happened in Seattle, as far as I can tell, is that a lot of the punks here still love classic rock. So you had bands like Chicago and Minneapolis where a lot of people were kind of turning their backs on classic rock. But here in Seattle, everybody's still hanging out in their basements, watching TV and smoking a bunch of pot. And they had no problem putting on the Sex Pistols and the Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Neil Young back to back. As long as it was great rock with big loud guitars, everybody loved it. And so I think that's one of the reasons why the Seattle scene developed the way it did. A lot of these punkers grew their hair out and put on some hiking boots and flannel shirts, flung their hair around and played big fucking loud guitars with big fucking loud amps. And it was a great time to go out in Seattle because a lot of times you'd go to a bill, there'd be 3 or 4 bands, and you probably have heard 2 of them. And then there's a third and fourth band you never heard before, and they were all really killer. So it was a great time to be going out to shows in Seattle and seeing bands like H Hour. And so once again, there is enough material out there, and it's recorded really well and it's played really well. And I'll post it below, and you can check it out. And so choke down some more of that Seattle rock. We had a lot of it, and a lot of it was really good. And H Hour is a prime example of that. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.